So now I'm going to show you a little bit different version of a wrist corsage, I guess. I would call it a floral bracelet. It's a little bit more modern, maybe, you know, something that mom would prefer over the traditional wristlet or the pin-on corsage. And that's going to be done with a little bit different ribbon. You know, we've been using this sheer ribbon all along, which we are going to use some of this, but this, because we're going to be tying this around the wrist and we're going to be gluing on it, you want something that's more solid that the glue cannot soak through. So what I want to do here is take a length of ribbon. You want it to be long enough that you can tie it around your wrist and have, you know, be able to put a little bow, and you can always trim it later. But so I'm thinking maybe let's do about almost a yard. What is that? Let's see. I'll use my wire. If you're ever cutting something, these wires that you buy, they're 18 inches long traditionally. So we know we're at 18 inches here. So we're going to use about half of that. Let's see, maybe about a little over 2 feet, let's say. So we've cut that. So that's the piece that's going to tie around our wrist. And some people have bigger wrists than others. I have big wrists, but you know, it'll be long enough to fit anybody. So we have that. Then we're going to take a small piece. And this is just what would fit around the average person's wrist. Now my wrists are bigger, so I'm not going all the way around. I'm just going to do a small piece, and we're going to put that right in the center. So if we take that, I'm going to put a tiny little bit of glue. You don't need a lot because this glue is very sticky and it soaks through. So that's where we're going to be gluing our blooms to, and you can see it's already coming through the center, and I may even, when I'm finished, add another piece into there. But for now, we're just going to leave it like that. Then we're going to take our sheer ribbon and we're going to make tiny little bows, and we'll make a few of these, and that'll be our base that we're going to glue to. So I'm going to make a bunch of tiny little bows, and to make it easy, if you want to just cut your ribbon pre-cut, we can just take this, measure it off, and cut it. And then go back along and cut. And I would say we're probably gonna do maybe 5. We'll see how it goes. And cut. So we have our ribbon cut. And then let's make our bows. Make a loop, and another little loop, and then we're going to wire it. So we wrap our wire around. Because these are going to be used really short, I don't need a big long piece of wire. So I'm just going to cut that off. And I go to the next one. Do another little tiny bow. Put the wire around it. Cut that off. Make another little tiny bow. Put our wire around. Kind of shape. We got 2 more to go. Where's my wire? Put another piece of wire. Cut that off. And this is just something that's a little bit more modern. It's not the traditional corsage like we used to wear. And my last little bow. Okay. So my bows are done. Now I'm going to cut this off all the way to the end, and then take these little wires. You see where that wire is? Bend those flat so that you can cover that completely. You don't want to have like a sharp edge that's going to stab anybody. Always remember that. When you're dealing with personal flowers, all of your ends of your wires or your pins, anything sharp should be facing in a direction where it cannot get out to somebody's arm. So now I'm going to get all my little bows ready. I'm going to cut the ends and bend my wires down. Cut these, get out of here. Cut my wires, bend them down. Come on. Don't fight with me. Bend it down. And these are little things. You can do these way ahead of time. Get it all ready. Have it ready to go before you do all your personal flowers. I mean, this is something you can do a month ahead of time. Just when you're watching TV or just relaxing. Go through, make your list of everything everybody's going to wear, and then just make all your bows. Get them all done. Have them ready. Okay, so now our bows are done. I'm just going to put a little dab of glue. And we're going to set it on here. Another little dab of glue. Set it on here. And remember, you want to let this dry a little bit. I'm actually putting them on right away for this video, but just let them sit and dry so they get a little bit sticky. And always keep them on top of that second layer of ribbon. Okay. So now you can see that I have all this glued onto this band. Then I'm going to take all my orchid blooms and let's just line them all up so we can put the glue on all at once. I'll flip them all upside down. I pulled all their little stems off. You can see that all that stem has come off. So we're going to flip them all upside down. And then take your glue and just put a little dab on each orchid. Just put a little dab on the back of each one. And be careful, this glue is really goopy. If it starts making a mess, don't drip onto your ribbon. Don't drip your ribbon that you've already done. I've done that before and had to start over. So just try to keep it away from what you've already done. And just get all the blooms covered. Little dots of glue. Let's see, did we miss? Oh, we have a couple we missed. Right here and here. Okay, so we've got glue on all of our blooms, and I'm using probably about 20 blooms right here, but when I start putting it together, I don't know if I'm going to use them all. It really depends on the size of the flower, you know, and just how it comes together. So they've rested for a little bit, and I'm going to just start tucking them in. And you want to just set them in between the loops of ribbon. And I'm just going to kind of pull my ribbon up, tuck it in between the loops. And you can even like layer them on top of each other. They don't have to, you can just, if you see a little spot on a bloom, let's say this one has like a little crease in it right there, I'm going to put this one down here, and then maybe I set that one on top of it. And then that way I don't see that little chunk that was missing out of that petal. So I just keep adding them in and filling in all the little gaps. Like right here, you can see right in there, I see the base where the wire is. So I'm going to tuck this guy right down inside there. And then I just keep adding. So I put one down in here. Now I'm gonna look kind of on the sides, and I'll tuck one underneath here. I'm gonna look at this side over here, because remember, when it gets on your wrist, it's gonna, like, you'll see some of the edges. So think about like what's underneath here. So I'm just gonna lift up this and go right down in here. And that gives it depth. It doesn't just remain flat. You're just kind of like fluffing that ribbon up. And now, okay, as I look down into here, I see like this has almost, you kind of see a hole. You can see a little bit of the glue. So I'm gonna go in and add that one. He's a really perfect little guy. I'm gonna put him right into there. And I've got one left. Make it count. Last one. So let's put him right on the front. So now you've got all of these orchid blooms and your bow. It's all glued into place. And we're gonna let this dry for a few minutes. Give it a half an hour before you kind of start playing with it. But once it's totally dry, now we're gonna look at the back, and you can see where you can see a little bit of glue here. I would take another piece of ribbon and let's just cut it to that size. And we're gonna just do a little, very light layer, not too much, because it will, I mean, it's going to shine through a little bit, but at least that will cover most of it, and then we let it dry. And in the end, when it's all finished, you just take that and you tie it around your wrist. Now, once it's all dry, you can, when you fold it, you can look and see where there's some gaps, and then you just go in and tuck an orchid into there. So like right here, I've bent it around and I know I need one there. So you go in and add one wherever you see that it needs it. But there, and then you just tie it in a little bow and you've got a beautiful little wristband.